This is Flirting and Farting. I am Shallahs.
And I am LaBianca Shallahs. Unfiltered love and unscripted laughter.
Absolutely.
And we are discussing the ring and marriage vows and marriage realities, while also briefly touching on the ceremony itself and understanding that you do not have to do it how it's always been done if that's not your desire. For us, we were very, very untraditional. We had just came out of COVID, of course. So, everybody was still very much wanting to be far away. We kept it very intimate in a local university garden. They only charged us $50 to use the beautiful garden. And we went Dutch for the dinner afterwards, just because of where we were financially. We could not break the bank. Feet and tons of people are booking a beautiful, extraordinary venue. Our botanical gardens was everything we needed. It incorporated all of the elements just how we wanted.
Like, hands down, like, we both created the ceremony from the prayer we used, from how it was operated. Like, we had a meditation, like, in the beginning of the ceremony. We did a walk in the garden, symbolizing that, the people that was at the ceremony basically are walking this path with us on this marriage journey for the first time. Like, and I learned a lot in the process of marriage and creating the ceremony we wanted to create, because I know a lot of couples get hung up on paying $50,000 for a ceremony or for a wedding, for that one day. But our whole thought process was, we can bank $50K, use that for a house or whatnot, and
Eventually
and go that route. Like, we'd rather buy a house with the money for a ceremony. Like, to be all the way frank, like, we spent like $2,000 on our ceremony. Like,
in total, probably.
In total. Her dress is the most expensive thing that was a part of the ceremony. So,
and as far as going Dutch, of course, some people will be taken aback by that, but the people that were meant to be there and the people that showed up for us didn't mind. We did accommodate with hors d'oeuvres, and we accommodated with dessert. But that's how we started our union, with intention and more focus on us than the actual what went into the day.
Right. Yeah, because I think the expectation is you got to pay all these thousands of dollars to have a ceremony, and like I just told you, it's not true. Like, you can spend as much as you want.
Well, we also didn't want it to be a performance.
Right.
Like, yes, it's a beautiful day. Yes, we're coming together, but we are coming together in something that's already been established, and just putting it on paper, making it plain for the government, making it plain for anybody that had questions.
Now, if you're that couple that wants to pay $50,000,
oh, do you?
By all means, like, do that.
But for those who
was more focused on investing in the marriage,
all done,
not the way.
All done.
It was the whole mindset. While we went the route we went, it created what we created.
Thank you.
But yeah, that.
So, did you have any prior expectations of marriage before going into our legal union?
So, my expectation of marriage going into it, and before we sat down with our marriage counselors who are filming us, so before we sat down with them, like, my expectation of marriage was kind of similar to a traditional household. The guys, the men, they go to work, provide, things like that. The wives, we're modern. If she worked for a little bit, now she doesn't. And it ain't a flex or anything like that. That's just kind of how
it works for us.
It works for us. But I know there have been situations, or I know some people that, both couples, they go to work and both provide. Some aspects where the woman provides and the men stay home with the
And they
children.
switch.
And they switch off. Every 2 years or something like that, they do, I think.
But yours, you did have traditional expectations.
Yeah, so I had traditional expectations of marriage, you know. Yeah, pretty much.
I don't know if I even necessarily would say I had expectations of luck. Thankfully, we were able to. I highly recommend premarital counseling for any and everybody. I think it should be required because that is where we came into understanding of what we expected of one another. But prior to that, I didn't really have expectations. I just thought it would be a status quo. We go into it doing what we've always been doing. But I think the reality of it was it required us to be even more intentional than just dating, because now we're married and we have children and the world sees us as a husband and wife. So what does that mean for us? What does that mean in cultivating a healthy marriage? So I think the reality of it was more so for me, like, okay, what does this really look like? Like, how do we stay married was more so my concern than getting married, because a lot of people kept rushing us to the altar. But I'm like, okay, we get there, then what? There's no manual.
There's no
Like-
tips, none of that. And if there were tips, it was more so aged tips. You know, some was good. I can say some was good, but some wasn't. They was just aged. But once we sat down, had premarital counseling, and understanding those 5 pillars of the man, the family, in-law boundaries, our raising children, our religious and spiritual beliefs, our finances. So these different areas of a relationship. What does that look like? And diving deep into that. And I've had conversations with couples, and I know situations with couples where they don't discuss finance. You know, to me that's kind of odd, because in the case of something happened to me, how would she be able to access anything? You know, that was just my whole thought process.
I mean, I don't know if it's odd. It's just, you don't know what you don't know. So luckily, we had some guidance for us, which is why I promote and encourage marriage counseling.
But yes, the marriage itself, like, that was our expectations. How it turned out to be, I feel like for me, in a sense, it's somewhat traditional.
It definitely turned out more traditional than I expected.
Yeah.
Like, coming into it, I never imagined being a stay-at-home mom, or even if that was even an option, not working, because all I seen were women working and having to carry the weight and be all things provider and nurturer. So never imagined that I would be able to actually be at home and not have to worry about going to a job. For me, that's fine. I don't mind. It allows me to be creative. It allows me to write my books. It allows me to pour into other avenues, and it allows me to strategize our long term being at home. I'm definitely more of a traditional Southern girl than I expected. Like, if you would have told college girl, the ambitious, carrying every hat in every leadership role I could attain, that I was going to be a stay-at-home mom, I would have been like, what? Like, really? But it's a lot of benefits that come along with it, but it's also a lot of learning curves that come along with it. Like, for me, I had to learn how to prioritize myself, because being a wife, being a mom, it's very easy to get lost in these roles, to get lost in making sure everybody's taken care of, the house is taken care of, everybody got what they need. Does she have enough clothes? Does he need shoes this week? Has Shakim did what he needed to do? Like, it's very easy to get consumed in mommy and wife. And I did that with Jaira. I feel like We did not do date nights. We did not prioritize solo time, and it became isolating. I felt very much alone in a house with people. And I had to make sure I communicated that. And it took some time, but we got it together, especially with OHA. We prioritized date night more than we ever have. And we also implemented solo dates where we go out alone and do something we enjoy, which I think that is a marriage reality that a lot of us come into it not realizing is the importance of solitude. Like, yes, you are a union. Yes, you are mom. Yes, you are wife. But before you were mom and wife, who were you?
Right.
Who are you now? Before you were husband, before you were dad, who were you? Who are you now? What do you like to do?
Right.
And I think that's a journey we're still very much on, as far as like you figuring out what things you like, figuring out what you want to do for your solo dates, where you want to go, like same vice versa. And then bringing that back to each other to be able to further cultivate our marriage and have deepened conversations and get to continue knowing ourselves and one another.
Right. I think people just having conversations, people like just guys at work dread being with their wives. I don't know why that's a thing, but for me, like I enjoy, like even before marriage, I enjoyed spending time with my wife. Like quality time is one of my love languages. It's my top one. And I don't know, like it begs for me to question, like, why did you get married? Like, that's my question for any guy out there or woman out there. Why did you get married? You know, I always go back to the core, because the core of it all, you know, the core of it all is what's going to help you guys stay focused, stay intentional on building and growing what you guys have.
Is that what? Would you wrap that into like a marriage reality?
Yes, I would, because I think the expectations of a lot of people going into marriage is they don't look past the wedding day. They don't look past the day of the wedding.
So more so preparing yourself, not for the wedding, but for the marriage.
Like I said earlier, like we will rather invest in the marriage than invest in the wedding day. And that's what we have done, you know, and we've seen some fruit come from that, of growing and changing. So, do you have any other thoughts? Expectations versus reality?
I think another expectation or marriage reality is realizing that I have to continue
to choose to love somebody every day. Like that.
Yes.
If I had to give mine, I didn't mean to interrupt, but you choosing to love this person every day, you choosing to be with this person every day. Like, it's not a tough decision unless you are overthinking or anyone wanting to, you know what I'm saying?
What I was going to say as far as marriage realities is realizing that you don't read my mind and vice versa.
Right.
Like we still have to keep that open line of communication and communicate when something's bothering us or when you're not holding up your end of the responsibilities. Like there was one instance where navigating parenthood, working, and marriage is a ever-flowing learning lesson. And I remember you would come home from work and you would just be off, not realizing you needed to be on as dad, and me having to make sure I communicated like, hey, I've been home all day with the kids. I still need help. Like I need a break too.
Right.
So communicating those things and finding a flow in that. Like now when you come home, you take your hour and a half to reset. You do your yoga, you do your shower, you pour into you do your affirmations, but then you come in and be like, hey, it's your turn. Like, I think that's a marriage reality. Like you have to find your flow and make sure you communicate when you're tapped out. So, thankfully, thanks to a friend of mine, I had to remember I need to communicate. Like, it's been a hard day for me too. And being able to communicate that helped make sure we get the time that we both need after the end of shifts. That's very vital, because being a stay-at-home mom, for those who are in it, it's not easy. It's 24/7. Your kids always want you. You are the primary go-to, even when daddy's home.
Right.
But making sure that you involve your father, and you also step away when you need to, is necessary.
Yeah. And even those that, for those people that, you and the wife works, y'all, like she said, you have to find your flow. What works for you guys? Is it best when you both come home and have the kids, somebody go have some solo time and the other one takes care of the kids and you swap out, like, or y'all switch days, like, or Tuesday is you, Wednesday is wifey, like, and y'all switch out that way. Like, you just got to find your flow on what makes sense for your household, and your marriage. But yeah, that's my thoughts.
Yeah, I think that's some good takeaways. Marriage is not easy. Life is not easy. I don't want people to think marriage is by all means hard, but life is hard in general. But it's choosing your hard and making sure you navigate it as a team and keep communication open. Does marriage look different than I thought it would? No.
I don't think so either. Not from how I envisioned, because we were intentional up front.
Yeah. But
yeah. But thank you guys for your time.
Thank you for joining us.